3 suns, 30 years of searching, and one impossible truth. What if everything we knew about our origins was wrong? When renowned archaeologist Dr. Marcus Hale begins seeing disturbing parallels between his own life and thousand-year-old alien prophecies, he'll uncover secrets that could rewrite history itself. Alongside his enigmatic alien assistant, he'll face choices that could change two worlds forever. Can you handle the truth about where we really come from? Subscribe now to discover the answer. The triple dawn painted the alien landscape in hues no Earthborn sky could ever match. Dr. Marcus Hale adjusted his excavation goggles as he watched the 3 suns rise over the ancient city of Valeth, their light dancing across weathered stone structures older than any human civilization. 30 standard Earth years he'd spent here, digging through layers of history on this distant world orbiting Alpha Centauri b. The air was thin but breathable, carrying traces of minerals that tingled against his skin. His assistant, Silra, moved gracefully among the ruins, her iridescent skin catching the morning light like liquid crystal. She had been by his side for nearly half his time here, her presence becoming as natural as breathing. Yet today felt different. Perhaps it was the way she kept glancing at him when she thought he wasn't looking, or how she paused longer than usual over certain inscriptions they'd uncovered yesterday. Something was stirring in the ancient stones, something that made the hair on the back of his neck stand up despite the familiar warmth of the triple suns above. Marcus remembered his first day on this planet, how the multiple shadows cast by the suns had seemed almost magical. Over the years, those shadows had become constant companions, marking the passage of time in ways that Earth's single sun never could. The local flora responded uniquely to the triple illumination, some plants photosynthesizing continuously, while others thrived in the brief periods of partial darkness when 1 or 2 suns dipped below the horizon. This complex dance of light and shadow had shaped not only the ecosystem but also the architecture of the ancient city. The builders had clearly understood the celestial mechanics perfectly, orienting their structures to maximize benefit from each sun's position throughout their complex daily cycles. As Marcus ran his fingers over the cool stone surface of a recently uncovered pillar, he couldn't help but marvel at how precisely the carvings aligned with certain astronomical events. Silra approached silently, her bare feet making no sound on the ancient paving stones. "These markings," she began, her voice carrying the musical quality unique to her species, "they're not just decorative. They tell stories, stories that seem to know more about you than even you do." Her words sent a shiver down his spine, though he tried to dismiss it as mere superstition. After all, he was a scientist, trained to seek rational explanations for everything he observed. But the pattern of coincidences between his life and these ancient inscriptions was becoming harder to ignore with each passing day. Marcus first arrived on this world when he was barely older than Silra appears now. Fresh from his doctorate studies, armed with nothing but theories and determination, he'd set foot on soil that hadn't felt human weight in millennia. The local Valethians had welcomed him cautiously, their culture built upon cycles of knowledge passed down through generations. They spoke of their ancestors' warnings, of visitors who had come from beyond the stars bearing questions about their shared past. At first, Marcus dismissed these stories as mere folklore, convenient explanations for the advanced technology remnants they occasionally found buried deep within the ruins. But Silra, born into this culture, saw patterns where he saw coincidence. Her people's legends spoke of a wanderer from the stars whose arrival would signal a great revelation, one that would unite their understanding of existence. She never mentioned this directly to Marcus, but he caught fragments of conversation, whispers among the elders when they thought he couldn't hear. It wasn't until recently that she began connecting these stories to specific details about Marcus's life that sent shivers down both their spines. The more time they spent together, the more Silra noticed peculiar synchronicities. Marcus's birthday fell precisely during the annual Festival of Convergence, when the 3 suns aligned perfectly in the sky, an event her people believed marked significant historical moments. His spacecraft had landed near the exact coordinates where ancient texts described the arrival of the Seeker. Even his choice of research specialization, cross-cultural archaeological studies, mirrored the very nature of their current investigation. These connections weren't immediately apparent. Rather, they revealed themselves gradually, like constellations emerging from scattered stars. Silra often found herself wondering whether these parallels were merely statistical anomalies or something far more profound. The elders had warned her about the dangers of seeking patterns where none existed, yet the evidence seemed too consistent to dismiss as mere chance. Marcus, for his part, maintained a professional skepticism, though he couldn't deny the growing unease whenever another piece of his personal history matched some ancient prophecy. Their daily work took on new dimensions as they began documenting not just the physical artifacts, but also the increasingly uncanny similarities between Marcus's life trajectory and the predictions etched in stone thousands of years ago. Each new discovery added another thread to the complex tapestry they were unraveling, weaving together human and Valethian narratives in ways neither had anticipated when they first began their collaboration. The excavation site lay at the heart of what the Valethians called the Convergence Plaza, a massive circular complex where three major thoroughfares of the ancient city met. Marcus had spent countless hours mapping the intricate carvings that adorned its perimeter, each symbol representing events lost to time, yet somehow feeling achingly familiar. Silra's movements became more deliberate as she worked alongside him, her fingers tracing patterns in the dust while muttering calculations under her breath. "These alignments," she said suddenly, startling him from his focused examination of a particularly worn glyph, "they match the dates of your arrival here, and—" She hesitated. "And your birth." Marcus straightened, his muscles protesting after hours in the same position. "Coincidence," he suggested, though his tone lacked conviction. "But there's more," Silra continued, pulling out her data tablet. "The positioning of these symbols corresponds exactly to the star charts your people use, not ours. And look here," she pointed to a series of interlocking circles. "This pattern matches the quantum signature of your spacecraft when you first entered our system." The implications hung heavy in the air between them, thicker than the planet's unique atmospheric composition. As they stood there, contemplating the significance of these discoveries, the plaza itself seemed to respond to their presence. Subtle vibrations traveled through the stone beneath their feet, resonating with frequencies that matched neither of their species' natural harmonics. Silra's bioluminescent markings began to pulse in synchronization with these vibrations, creating patterns that overlapped perfectly with the carvings they had been studying. Marcus activated his portable scanner, capturing readings that defied conventional physics. The energy signatures emanating from the plaza suggested a sophisticated network of information storage embedded within the very structure of the stone. It was as if the entire complex functioned as a massive data repository, waiting patiently for the right combination of factors to activate its contents. The realization struck them simultaneously. They weren't merely uncovering ancient artifacts. They were interacting with a living archive that recognized their presence and responded accordingly. Each step they took across the plaza's surface triggered new patterns of light and vibration, revealing additional layers of meaning in the carvings they had studied for years. The experience transformed their understanding of the site from static ruins to dynamic interface, challenging fundamental assumptions about how ancient civilizations recorded and preserved knowledge. As the day progressed, they documented dozens of such interactions, each more complex than the last, painting a picture of technological sophistication far beyond anything previously attributed to either human or Valethian historical development. As days turned into weeks, Marcus found himself unable to shake the growing sense of unease. The parallels between his life and the ancient inscriptions grew more numerous and precise. Silra revealed that her people's most sacred texts contained prophecies describing a visitor who would arrive during a particular alignment of the three suns, an event that occurred only once every 500 years. That rare celestial phenomenon had coincided precisely with Marcus's arrival 3 decades ago. More disturbing were the descriptions of the visitor himself, a solitary figure from beyond the stars, marked by both wisdom and loss, whose purpose remained shrouded in mystery until the final revelation. Marcus had always considered such stories metaphorical, but now found himself scanning old photographs from Earth, noticing how certain shadows fell across his younger self in ways that eerily matched the ancient carvings. Silra watched him carefully, her luminous eyes reflecting concern and something else, perhaps fear, or maybe hope. Their work took on new urgency as they delved deeper into sections of the ruins previously deemed too dangerous to explore, following leads that seemed to draw them inexorably toward answers neither was sure they wanted to find. The changes in their routine were subtle at first. Marcus began keeping detailed journals of every interaction with the site, noting how certain areas seemed to wake up when he approached. Silra's people had always spoken of the ruins as being alive in some mystical sense, but now Marcus witnessed concrete evidence supporting this claim. The stone surfaces would shift slightly under his touch, revealing hidden compartments or altering existing carvings in response to his presence. Each morning, as they prepared for another day of exploration, they found new pathways opened where solid walls had stood the day before. These changes weren't random. They followed patterns that corresponded directly to Marcus's personal history and the sequence of his discoveries. Silra's role evolved from assistant to interpreter of these phenomena, her innate understanding of Valethian symbology proving invaluable in deciphering the messages encoded in these transformations. Together, they developed a system for documenting these changes, creating detailed three-dimensional maps that captured not just the physical alterations, but also the energetic shifts accompanying them. The data they collected challenged conventional archaeological methodology, suggesting that the site wasn't merely a passive repository of historical information but an active participant in their investigation, guiding their progress according to some ancient program whose full purpose remained tantalizingly out of reach. Their breakthrough came during the blue hour, that magical time when all three suns dipped below the horizon simultaneously, bathing the ruins in a spectrum of colors found nowhere else in the known universe. Working in the cooling twilight, Marcus and Silra discovered a previously hidden chamber beneath the Convergence Plaza. The entrance had been cleverly disguised as part of the plaza's drainage system, its locking mechanism responding to a combination of pressure points that corresponded exactly to coordinates from Marcus's home solar system. Inside, the walls pulsed with bioluminescent patterns similar to those naturally occurring in Silra's skin, illuminating ancient machinery that hummed with latent energy. As they examined the room's contents, Marcus realized with growing dread that many of the control interfaces bore markings identical to those used in human spaceflight technology. Silra's hands trembled as she translated the accompanying inscriptions. Here lies the key to understanding the true nature of existence, guarded by the chosen one who walks between worlds. The air seemed to thicken around them, charged with the weight of countless generations waiting for this moment. The chamber's interior proved even more remarkable than its entrance. The walls were covered in layers of crystalline material that shifted colors in response to their proximity, creating complex patterns that seemed to flow like liquid light. In the center of the room stood a pedestal-like structure, its surface etched with symbols that combined elements from both human and Valethian writing systems. As Marcus approached, the symbols began rearranging themselves, forming recognizable characters from Earth's ancient languages alongside Valethian glyphs. Silra's translation revealed that this was no ordinary archive, but a sophisticated interface designed to bridge the knowledge gap between their species. The machinery lining the chamber walls emitted low-frequency vibrations that resonated with both their biological rhythms, suggesting a technology specifically engineered to interact with beings from both worlds. Most astonishing was how the chamber seemed to anticipate their questions, presenting information in sequences that addressed their immediate curiosities while hinting at deeper mysteries yet to be explored. As they worked through the initial protocols, they discovered that the chamber's systems operated on principles combining aspects of quantum computing and organic neural networks, creating a hybrid intelligence that adapted to their understanding in real time. This revelation transformed their perception of the site from ancient ruin to cutting-edge research facility, challenging everything they thought they knew about the technological capabilities of past civilizations. The chamber's main display activated as Marcus approached, responding to his proximity like a long-dormant AI recognizing its creator. Streams of data cascaded across crystalline surfaces, translating themselves into both English and Valethian script. What they revealed shook the foundations of everything Marcus thought he knew about human history. The information spoke of ancient contact between their peoples, predating recorded history on both worlds. According to the records, humans hadn't evolved solely on Earth. Instead, their ancestors had been part of a vast interstellar civilization that had seeded life across multiple planets. The shockwave of this revelation rippled through Marcus's mind as he processed the implications. Silra's voice broke through his thoughts, trembling with emotion. Our creation myths speak of the seed-bearers who traveled between stars, planting life where none existed. We always believed it was metaphorical, but... She gestured to the display showing DNA sequences common to both their species. This changes everything about how we understand ourselves, our histories, our very beings. Marcus felt the weight of responsibility settle heavily on his shoulders. He held in his hands knowledge that could either unite their peoples or tear apart everything they believed about their separate evolutions. The data continued unfolding, revealing that this ancient civilization had possessed technologies far beyond current human capabilities. They had mastered genetic engineering at a molecular level, able to adapt life forms to thrive in diverse environments while maintaining core compatibility. The records showed how human and Valethian ancestors had been designed to share fundamental biological traits, ensuring basic compatibility while allowing for independent evolutionary paths. This explained why their species exhibited such remarkable similarities in cognitive functions and emotional responses despite millions of years of separation. As they delved deeper into the archives, they discovered evidence of periodic visits by members of this ancient civilization, monitoring the development of their creations and occasionally intervening to correct evolutionary drifts. These interventions had become less frequent over time, eventually ceasing entirely as the original civilization apparently vanished from the galactic stage. The implications of this knowledge weighed heavily on both researchers, forcing them to reconsider everything they thought they understood about biological evolution and the origins of intelligent life. The chamber systems seemed to recognize their struggle with comprehension, presenting the information in increasingly accessible formats while maintaining the integrity of the original data. Marcus found himself oscillating between scientific excitement and existential crisis, while Silra wrestled with the implications for her people's spiritual beliefs and cultural identity. Together, they faced the daunting task of processing revelations that challenged fundamental aspects of both human and Valethian understanding of their places in the universe. As they delved deeper into the chamber's archives, Marcus noticed something even more unsettling. The records detailed not just historical contact but predicted future events with uncanny accuracy, including his own arrival and discoveries. There were references to specific decisions he'd made throughout his career, choices he'd thought were entirely his own. The ancient texts described a bridgewalker who would appear during a particular cycle of the Triple Suns, bearing knowledge that would awaken both peoples to their shared heritage. What chilled Marcus most was how accurately these predictions matched his life trajectory, from his choice of university specialization to his decision to pursue extrasolar archaeology against his family's wishes. Silra watched him with growing concern as he cross-referenced personal journals with the ancient prophecies. "It's as if someone wrote your biography thousands of years before you were born," she whispered, touching a glowing panel that displayed images disturbingly similar to photographs of his childhood home. The implications of predetermined destiny warred with his scientific training, creating a cognitive dissonance that left him questioning the very nature of free will. Each new discovery pulled them deeper into a web of interconnected destinies that transcended their individual lives. The archive's predictive capabilities extended beyond just Marcus's personal history. It contained detailed forecasts of technological developments on both worlds, accurately predicting breakthroughs that had occurred during his lifetime. Some entries described scientific discoveries that hadn't happened yet, but carried enough verifiable details to suggest they were inevitable. The chamber systems seemed to operate on a form of temporal awareness that defied conventional understanding of time and causality. As they worked through the data, patterns emerged showing how seemingly independent developments in human and Valethian societies had actually been guided by subtle influences from this ancient civilization. These influences manifested in dreams, artistic expressions, and intuitive leaps that had appeared spontaneous but were, in fact, carefully orchestrated nudges along predetermined paths. The realization that their entire lives might be playing out according to a script written millennia ago created a profound psychological tension. Marcus found himself constantly questioning whether his actions were truly his own or merely fulfilling ancient prophecies. Silra, drawing on her people's philosophical traditions, suggested that perhaps free will and destiny weren't mutually exclusive concepts, but rather complementary aspects of existence. Their discussions grew increasingly metaphysical as they grappled with the implications of possessing knowledge that spanned centuries and challenged fundamental assumptions about consciousness and agency. The chamber's central console pulsed with increasing intensity as they accessed deeper levels of information. Marcus and Silra worked in synchronized silence, their movements becoming almost ritualistic as they navigated the ancient interface. The data revealed that the connection between their peoples extended far beyond shared DNA. It included cultural elements, linguistic roots, and even aspects of their respective mythologies that had evolved independently yet maintained fundamental similarities. Most shockingly, the archives contained detailed accounts of periodic visits by human explorers throughout millennia, each contributing to the development of Valethian society while maintaining strict protocols of non-interference. These contacts had become less frequent over time until ceasing completely several centuries ago, leaving behind only fragmented memories preserved in legend. As they processed this information, Marcus felt the ground shift beneath his understanding of human history. The implications reached beyond academic curiosity. They touched upon questions of identity, purpose, and the very meaning of civilization itself. Silra's hands moved across the interface with growing confidence, her innate connection to the technology becoming more apparent with each passing moment. Together, they were unlocking secrets that had waited patiently through the ages for rediscovery. The depth of cultural exchange documented in the archives astonished them. Human visitors had introduced concepts in mathematics, astronomy, and agriculture that had become foundational elements of Valethian civilization. In return, Valethian insights into energy manipulation and consciousness studies had influenced human development through indirect channels spanning centuries. The archive revealed how these exchanges had been carefully managed to prevent technological contamination while allowing for mutual growth. Protocols had existed to ensure that knowledge transfer occurred through inspiration rather than direct instruction, preserving the integrity of independent discovery. As they explored these records, they encountered numerous examples of how artistic expressions, philosophical ideas, and scientific breakthroughs had crossed species boundaries in subtle ways that respected both cultures' developmental trajectories. The chamber systems presented this information through interactive holograms that allowed them to experience firsthand how specific concepts had evolved differently yet recognizably on both worlds. Marcus found himself reconsidering his entire approach to archaeology, realizing that traditional methods of studying isolated civilizations needed to be fundamentally revised in light of this evidence of ancient interconnection. Silra's perspective shifted equally dramatically as she recognized how many aspects of her people's cultural heritage had deeper roots in human influence than anyone had previously suspected. Their shared exploration of these revelations created a unique synergy, blending their respective expertise into a unified approach to understanding their intertwined histories. Their exploration took a dramatic turn when they discovered a section of the archive dedicated to what the ancients called the Great Separation. This period marked when humans and Valethians had consciously chosen to pursue independent evolutionary paths, agreeing to let natural development take its course without further direct interference. The records showed that this decision had been agonizing, made with the understanding that future generations might forget their shared origins entirely. Marcus found himself drawn to personal accounts from those times, letters, recordings, and holographic messages left behind by human scientists who had formed deep bonds with their Valethian counterparts. These documents spoke of love affairs spanning lifetimes, collaborative projects that pushed both species forward, and ultimately, the bittersweet acceptance of necessary separation. Silra's eyes glistened as she translated passages describing how Valathian children had learned Earth languages and customs, while human visitors adapted to local traditions. The emotional weight of this deliberate parting pressed heavily upon them both, transforming abstract historical data into living, breathing memories of loss and hope. Each revelation brought them closer to understanding why their meeting now felt so profoundly significant, as if the universe itself had conspired to bring them together at this precise moment in time. The archive's documentation of this separation period proved both extensive and deeply personal. Official records detailed the careful planning that had gone into ensuring both civilizations would have the resources needed to thrive independently, while private communications revealed the personal sacrifices involved. Scientists from both species had volunteered to erase their own memories of cross-species contact, returning to their respective communities with only vague impressions that would manifest as cultural myths and legends. The decision-making process had been agonizing, with debates lasting for decades as leaders struggled to balance the benefits of continued exchange against the risks of cultural contamination and dependency. Marcus and Silra pieced together how this separation had been implemented gradually, allowing for a phased withdrawal that minimized disruption while maximizing the preservation of essential knowledge. The archive contained numerous safety measures designed to protect this knowledge until the time was right for reconnection. Cryptographic seals required simultaneous authorization from both species to unlock critical information, ensuring that neither could access the full scope of their shared history without the other's participation. As they worked through these records, Marcus and Silra experienced moments of profound connection with their ancient predecessors, recognizing echoes of their own partnership in the stories of those who had sacrificed everything to preserve the possibility of future understanding. The emotional resonance of these discoveries deepened their commitment to their current mission, reinforcing their roles as bridges between worlds separated by time as well as space. As they processed the reality of their people's shared past, Marcus and Silra found themselves facing unprecedented ethical dilemmas. The archive contained protocols for revealing such knowledge to their respective societies, warning of potential chaos if handled improperly. Ancient records documented previous attempts at disclosure that had ended in social upheaval, religious conflict, and even violence. They discovered guidelines suggesting a gradual approach, beginning with small, verifiable facts that would allow both cultures to adjust to the new reality without shattering existing belief systems. Yet the urgency of their situation pressed upon them. The chamber systems indicated that once activated, the archive would remain accessible for only a limited time before automatically sealing itself again for another 500 years. Silra argued for immediate disclosure, believing her people's inherent spiritual connection to their history would facilitate acceptance. Marcus countered with concerns about Earth's current political climate and widespread misinformation networks that could twist such revelations into dangerous conspiracy theories. Their debates stretched late into the triple moonlit nights, each argument bringing them closer to understanding the immense responsibility resting on their shoulders. The weight of potentially reshaping two civilizations' understanding of themselves created tension between their roles as scientists and their duties as custodians of humanity's deepest truths. As they deliberated, the archive provided historical case studies of similar revelations throughout the galaxy, offering valuable lessons about managing paradigm shifts on a societal scale. They learned about civilizations that had successfully integrated such knowledge through careful preparation and those that had collapsed under the weight of sudden enlightenment. The archive emphasized the importance of context in framing revelations, suggesting that raw data alone could be more destructive than ignorance. Marcus drew upon his experience navigating academic politics to develop strategies for controlled dissemination, while Silra contributed insights from her people's traditions of knowledge transmission. Together, they crafted a multi-phase plan that incorporated elements from both cultures' approaches to handling transformative information. The archive systems responded positively to their careful planning, granting them access to additional guidance protocols designed to support their efforts. Yet, even as they refined their strategy, they remained acutely aware of the potential consequences of failure. Each decision carried the weight of millions of lives, both present and future, making their responsibility feel almost unbearable at times. Their debates evolved from theoretical discussions to practical considerations about how to identify reliable intermediaries, establish verification mechanisms, and create support networks for individuals struggling to reconcile new truths with established beliefs. Through this process, they developed a profound appreciation for the complexity of cultural evolution and the delicate balance between progress and stability. The archive's security protocols began manifesting in unexpected ways as they continued their research. Environmental controls shifted subtly, adjusting temperature and atmospheric composition to match optimal conditions for preserving both human and Valethian physiology. Ancient defense mechanisms activated, creating localized force fields around particularly sensitive information nodes. Marcus noticed that certain displays would only activate when both he and Silra stood together, their combined biosignatures apparently serving as authentication keys. These developments forced them to work even more closely, their physical proximity becoming essential to accessing deeper levels of the archive. Silra's bioluminescent patterns began resonating with the chamber's illumination systems, creating beautiful harmonic displays that seemed to unlock additional layers of information. They discovered that the archive had been designed to recognize and respond to the presence of both species working in harmony, a safeguard against either group attempting to claim the knowledge unilaterally. This revelation transformed their relationship from professional collaboration to something more profound, as they realized their very interaction was fulfilling ancient prophecies about unity and mutual understanding. Each new discovery reinforced the importance of their partnership, making it clear that neither could complete this journey alone. The archive's adaptive security measures evolved in complexity as they progressed, introducing challenges that tested not just their intellectual capabilities, but also their ability to work seamlessly as a team. Some information nodes required simultaneous input from both their species-specific neural interfaces, forcing them to synchronize their thought patterns and develop a form of telepathic communication. Other systems responded to emotional states, rewarding harmony and cooperation while temporarily restricting access during periods of conflict or doubt. These protocols served a dual purpose, protecting the knowledge while fostering genuine understanding between representatives of both species. As they adapted to these requirements, Marcus and Silra found their relationship deepening beyond professional respect to a profound connection that transcended cultural and biological differences. The archive seemed to recognize and encourage this development, gradually lowering its defensive barriers as their partnership strengthened. They discovered that certain areas of the archive contained information that could only be comprehended through shared experience, requiring them to literally see through each other's eyes using specially designed sensory exchange devices. These moments of merged perception revealed aspects of their shared history that neither could have understood alone, creating a unique form of knowledge that belonged exclusively to their combined consciousness. The archive systems began adapting to their developing synergy, creating new interfaces that capitalized on their growing ability to think and act as a unified entity, while still respecting their individual identities and perspectives. Their work took on new dimensions as they began documenting the archive's contents for future study. Marcus developed innovative recording techniques that captured both visual and contextual data, while Silra utilized her people's traditional memory preservation methods to create living records of their findings. They established a rhythm of work and rest that accommodated both human and Valethian biological needs, often finding themselves discussing philosophical implications during their shared meals. These conversations revealed surprising parallels in their personal philosophies. Marcus's scientific approach complemented Silra's intuitive understanding of universal patterns, creating a synthesis that allowed them to interpret the archive's most complex revelations. As they progressed, they noticed how their individual strengths compensated for each other's limitations, forming a partnership that transcended simple cooperation. The archive seemed to respond to this synergy, granting them access to increasingly sophisticated information about the nature of consciousness and its role in shaping reality across species boundaries. Their mutual respect deepened into genuine affection, born not from romantic attraction but from shared purpose and profound understanding of their unique positions in history's unfolding narrative. The documentation process itself became a form of discovery, as they found that certain pieces of information only became fully comprehensible when recorded through both human and Valethian perspectives simultaneously. Marcus's analytical framework provided structure and verification, while Silra's holistic approach revealed underlying connections and meanings that purely scientific methods might have missed. They developed a hybrid notation system that combined mathematical precision with symbolic representation, creating records that preserved not just facts but also the essence of their shared understanding. This approach proved particularly valuable when dealing with abstract concepts related to consciousness and identity, which resisted traditional methods of documentation. As they worked, they found themselves developing new theories about how knowledge itself could evolve and adapt across species boundaries, suggesting that understanding wasn't merely transferred, but transformed through cross-species interaction. The archive systems encouraged this process, providing tools that enhance their ability to merge perspectives while maintaining the integrity of each species' unique contributions. Their shared experiences began influencing their respective cultures indirectly, as they subconsciously incorporated new insights into their daily interactions with colleagues and community members. This ripple effect demonstrated the archive's sophisticated design, which facilitated gradual cultural transformation through individual growth rather than abrupt revelation. As they neared completion of their primary documentation phase, they realized that their partnership had become a living example of the very principles they were studying, demonstrating how profound understanding could emerge from difference while preserving the value of distinct perspectives. The final chamber held the most challenging revelations yet. Here, the archive presented evidence that the separation between their peoples hadn't been entirely voluntary. Records indicated that external forces, possibly other advanced civilizations, had intervened to accelerate the divergence between human and Valethian development paths. These entities had left behind cryptic warnings about the dangers of premature reconnection, suggesting that the timing of their current discovery was crucial to avoiding catastrophic consequences. Marcus and Silra faced the sobering realization that their work wasn't just about reconnecting two branches of a shared family tree. It was about navigating a cosmic minefield of ancient political machinations and still-active safeguards. The chamber systems began presenting them with scenarios and simulations, testing their ability to make decisions that balanced scientific integrity with societal stability. Each challenge forced them to confront their own biases and assumptions, pushing them toward a deeper understanding of their roles as stewards of this monumental knowledge. The weight of responsibility grew heavier with each passing day, tempered only by their growing certainty that they were uniquely qualified to carry this burden together. As they processed these revelations, the archive revealed additional layers of complexity in the separation process. They discovered evidence of sophisticated mimetic engineering designed to suppress certain types of cross-species understanding while preserving essential compatibility. These safeguards had manifested in both cultures as taboos and cultural blind spots that had prevented accidental rediscovery of their shared origins until the proper time. The chamber systems began initiating a series of increasingly complex trials, testing not just their intellectual capabilities, but their emotional resilience and ethical judgment. Some scenarios presented moral dilemmas that forced them to choose between preserving pure historical truth and protecting their peoples from potentially destabilizing knowledge. Others simulated the consequences of various disclosure strategies, revealing how small differences in approach could lead to vastly different outcomes. Through these trials, Marcus and Silra developed a nuanced understanding of how knowledge could be weaponized or misinterpreted, refining their strategies for controlled revelation. The archive systems adapted to their growing expertise, presenting increasingly sophisticated challenges that incorporated elements from both human and Valethian historical contexts. They found themselves drawing upon their combined cultural heritage to navigate these tests, discovering unexpected synergies between their species' traditional approaches to wisdom and leadership. The experience transformed their understanding of power and responsibility, teaching them that true stewardship required not just knowledge, but also the wisdom to know when and how to apply it. As they neared completion of their documentation, Marcus and Silra encountered the archive's ultimate test, a series of predictive algorithms that simulated various outcomes based on how they chose to present their findings. Some scenarios showed peaceful integration of knowledge, leading to unprecedented technological and cultural advances. Others depicted devastating conflicts arising from misinterpretation or misuse of the information. The most troubling simulations revealed how easily their discoveries could be weaponized by those seeking to control either society. Through these trials, they developed a nuanced strategy for phased disclosure, incorporating elements from both human and Valethian approaches to knowledge sharing. They created encryption protocols that would allow controlled access to different levels of information based on demonstrated readiness and understanding. The archive responded positively to their careful planning, gradually lowering its defensive systems and granting them full access to its core repository. As they prepared to leave the chamber for the final time, they understood that their work was just beginning. The real challenge lay in guiding their peoples through the transformation that awaited, armed with truth, but tempered by wisdom earned through their extraordinary journey. The predictive algorithms proved remarkably sophisticated, capable of modeling not just immediate reactions, but long-term societal evolution across multiple variables. They revealed how different cultural contexts would interpret the same information in radically different ways, sometimes with unintended consequences that could cascade through generations. Marcus and Silra worked tirelessly to develop contextual frameworks that would help their respective societies integrate this knowledge without losing their unique identities. The archive provided tools for creating these frameworks, drawing upon millennia of experience in managing similar transitions across countless civilizations. They discovered that successful integration required not just factual information but also carefully crafted narratives that could bridge the gap between old beliefs and new understanding. The archive systems helped them develop these narratives, suggesting ways to frame revelations that would honor both species' historical perspectives while opening doors to expanded awareness. As they finalized their plans, they encountered one final challenge. The archive demanded that they personally demonstrate their readiness to bear this knowledge by experiencing a condensed version of the transformation their peoples would undergo. This trial forced them to confront every aspect of their identities, from cherished beliefs to unconscious biases. As they processed the full scope of their shared history, the experience was both excruciating and exhilarating, leaving them fundamentally changed yet more committed than ever to their mission. When they emerged from this final test, the archive acknowledged their readiness by granting them access to its deepest secrets, knowledge that would enable them to guide their peoples through the coming transformation with unprecedented insight and compassion. Standing at the threshold of the now-sealed chamber, Marcus and Silra faced the rising triple suns with a mixture of apprehension and hope. 30 years of dedication had led Marcus to this moment, while Silra's lifetime of cultural heritage prepared her for the responsibilities ahead. Together, they carried knowledge that could redefine existence for both their peoples. The journey back to their respective communities would be long and challenging, filled with difficult conversations and potentially dangerous revelations. Yet they moved forward with confidence born from their shared experience, knowing they had forged a bond stronger than any artificial separation imposed by history. As they began transmitting their initial findings through secure channels, they watched their people's reactions unfold, some embracing the truth with open minds, others resisting with fear and suspicion. Through it all, they remained steadfast in their commitment to guided understanding, using the strategies developed in the archive to navigate the turbulent waters of revelation. Their story became not just one of archaeological discovery, but of bridging divides, challenging preconceptions, and demonstrating that even across stars and centuries, connection and understanding could prevail. If you're ready to explore more mind-bending stories about humanity's place in the universe, don't forget to subscribe for journeys that question everything we think we know about our past, present, and future. The impact of their discoveries rippled outward in ways both expected and surprising. Some segments of their societies embraced the revelations with enthusiasm bordering on euphoria, while others reacted with denial so intense it bordered on violence. Marcus and Silra found themselves navigating this complex landscape with the wisdom gained from their trials in the archive, applying their carefully developed strategies to manage the transition. They established networks of trusted intermediaries, created safe spaces for processing new information, and developed educational programs that honored both species' existing knowledge while expanding their understanding. The archive's influence continued to guide them, its lessons manifesting in their daily decisions as they worked to prevent the kind of chaos that had followed previous revelations elsewhere in the galaxy. Over time, they observed how their peoples began adapting to this new reality, finding creative ways to integrate ancient truths with modern identities. Artists from both species collaborated on works that expressed the shared heritage in ways that transcended language barriers. Scientists developed joint research initiatives that built upon their common foundation while exploring new frontiers of understanding. Philosophers and spiritual leaders worked together to create frameworks that honored traditional beliefs while incorporating expanded perspectives. Through it all, Marcus and Silra remained at the heart of this transformation, their partnership serving as a living example of what was possible when two distinct consciousnesses merged while maintaining their unique identities. Their story inspired countless others to seek deeper connections across cultural and species boundaries, creating a movement that spread far beyond their immediate communities. As they looked toward the future, they recognized that their work would never truly be complete. Understanding was an ongoing process, not a final destination. Yet they faced this reality with courage born from experience, knowing that the path forward would be illuminated by the triple suns of truth, wisdom, and unity. Their legacy would be not just the knowledge they had uncovered, but the demonstration that even the most profound revelations could be integrated with care, respect, and hope for a shared future among the stars.